Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. So we're finally doing a review of the 2025 trout season that I had out on Lough Derg and the rivers. So I wanted to do this video for a while now, just to go over my thoughts on the season, how the season went. Did we get too many trout? What lures worked better than others? What setups did I like to use? What setups didn't I like to use? Just to see how my fishing changed throughout the season and my opinions on things. Obviously, this is my YouTube channel, lads, so these are only my opinions that I'm sharing. Everybody's going to have different opinions, but if you're watching this video, then it shows that you have an interest in trout fishing. You know that a lot of my fishing is based out in Lough Derg. I fished Lough Derg since I was 6 or 7 years of age now. I'm 30 years of age now, so I'm fishing it for, I'd say, 24 years. I started fishing the lake a long time ago with my grandparents. We used to go out on a wooden lake boat doing the trout fishing competitions and the pike fishing competitions back in the days of using blue barrels. My grandparents taught me how to fish out in the lake, how to understand the fishing. We used to fish for days and weeks on end, lads, and we used to catch very little, but it was always a memory that will always stick with me. We used to catch the odd fish and I'd never forget it. We used to only be catching small fish, the odd big fish, but you know, that's my bread and butter. We used to fish just basic trolling around the lake with lame minnows and hoping for a hit. And the odd time we would get a hit, you know, it'd be a big huss and fuff. But yeah, my grandfather had a good understanding of the lake, and my grandmother as well. They were really good anglers. They taught me a lot out on the lake, down in the Ballina Fishing Club on Lough Derg. Rest in peace to my grandfather. He actually passed away in the last few years, but I'll always remember the trout fishing days that I had with him out there, and also with my grandmother, who still watches these videos. So if you're watching this, Nan, hope you're keeping well. So I'm going to go over my thoughts on the 2025 trout season here now and talk about how the year went for me. So give the video a like and subscribe, lads. Get involved in the comment section. How is the fishing for you? Let's get stuck into it. So the trout season, at the very start of the season, I was fishing in my old lake boat. A lot of the fishing around March and April would have been spinning and trolling. Early season on Lough Derg can be quite good. The fish can be nice and active. They're usually quite aggressive and hungry after they finish spawning. So working lures just subsurface in the shallower parts of the lake around the rocks can be quite effective. We caught loads of fish. I mainly focused on spinning, just basically setting up the boat on a big long drift, and you're fan casting left and right using small little twitch baits, lots of movement in the lures. It's essentially the very same as wet fly fishing. So a lot of people believe in like a hierarchy with fishing. The fly lads seem to hate people who lure fish, but in my own opinion, that's completely unnecessary. And if you're like that watching my videos, this is definitely not a channel for you. In my own opinion, lure fishing is pretty similar to wet fly fishing. You're stripping a lure under the surface, basically pulling something away from the trout, triggering his aggression. And trout are very aggressive. Something I've learned in the last few years. Trout aren't these placid, docile fish. Anything that fits into a trout's mouth, it's open for dinner. The way I've learned fishing over the last few years is, even out in the open water, the trout are always just pondering around, and they're always looking up. You know, that big 180-degree eye. And anything that they notice, they go over and investigate. And if they think for a second that it's jerking away from them, like you'd be doing with a strip and a wet fly, or the way you're twitching the lure, it just looks like an injured fish or an injured fly. And if it fits into a trout's mouth, it's its dinner. They're very aggressive fish. They're just really, really cool predators. So yeah, early season, stripping wets works for the lads that like the fly fishing, but I like lure fishing. So trolling, twitch trolling, put the lure out behind the boat, casting distance, hold the rod in your hand, twitch it. Or set the boat up in a big long drift, the same as what you'd be doing for wet fly fishing. You're just casting, fan casting, covering the water, hoping to intercept the feeding trout in any of the bays or out in the open water. A lot of the time in the early season, the fish are close to the rocks because there's not much vegetation in the early season, and the only bit of insect life that they will get is coming off those rocks, you know, them little shrimps and stuff like that. And there'll be the odd bit of fry as well in and around the rocks. So early season, we fish around the rocks. Going on from that, into the mayfly, I didn't do much fishing on the mayfly out in Lough Derg this year. I think I had 3 fish. I fished with my brother Kieran for the odd day in the mayfly. But usually around May, the pike fishing is quite good. So my attention kind of goes to the pike fishing. But the lads that fish the mayfly on Derg, they do okay. Some lads do okay, some lads don't do okay. And then all of a sudden, the lake is ruined, there's no trout in the lake. But I can tell you for a fact, Loch Derg is absolutely jam-packed with trout. Now, the average size on Derg isn't enormous, but there is some enormous fish on Derg. In my opinion, the average size on Derg would be around 30 to 40 centimetres. There's a lot of them. There's an awful lot of them. The population of trout on Derg is very big. I fish a lot of lakes around Ireland now, and it's similar to Ree in the fact that I think the average size in Ree is a little bit bigger. But then when you go and look at the likes of Loch Sheelan, where the average size is huge, Derg has a good population of trout, just not the largest trout. But when it comes to having the largest trout, there is some absolute monsters in Loch Derg. So you see lads catching the odd one in the pike fishing. For instance, Ivan was fishing for trout this year. He had a 16-pound trout. And I know a few other lads that had even bigger trout that weren't posted or recorded on social media. So there is big trout. From what I'm told as well, now I don't know the science behind this, I don't get involved with that sort of thing. The trout on Loch Derg, the big trout, are apparently, they're not ferox. They don't have that strain in them. They're known as just big brown trout. Apparently ferox is only in certain lakes. But I've heard that from a few people. I'm not sure about the science of it, lads. So if you're a scientist or an ecologist and you're watching this video, do you believe that there is strains of ferox in Loch Derg, or are they just big brown trout? I know big brown trout are ferox, but obviously there's a different strain in their DNA and stuff like that. Look, I don't really care. A big trout is a big trout. You should, like the trout on Loch Derg, to get to that size, they are eating other trout. At the end of the day, they're eating fish diet to get to 15, 16, 17, even 20 pounds. They have to be eating other fish. Anyway, that's enough about that. So going on from May, at the end of May into the start of June, it's a head wrecker for the lure fishing, like I do, because the trout switch onto the pin fry. Now the pin fry are little small little fry. And when the pike or when the trout switch onto them, it's honestly, it's a nightmare to try catch them. In around May, the first 2 weeks of June, that's all they're going for. So you can really downsize your lures, but you're pretty lucky to catch a couple of fish. Now, once they go off the pin fry and that pin fry starts to grow into July, August, September, you'll see a lot of Daphnia feeding out in the open water. A lot of trout will go out into the open water in big shoals, and you can really catch big numbers of trout on days like that. The trout fishing can be very good. July, August, September, very, very good. Like regularly I'm going out catching 20 trout a day. I think the most I had this year was 32 in a day. That's all lure fishing, all spinning. You can catch them trolling as well. The reason the fly lads don't catch as much is a lot of them only really fly fishing the start of the season and into May. They don't really stick with it for July, August, September. But if they did long drifts the way we fish for lures, with stripping humongous or anything they want really, they'd catch trout as well. Just a lot of lads kind of give up on it near the end of the season. But if you're watching this video, lads, and you're into the lure fishing or into the fly fishing, I'd stick with it for the whole year. And look, whatever about the dry fly fishing on Derg, it's a bit poor, but wet fly fishing, it's very similar to lure fishing. You'll catch a lot of fish if you stick with it. Or else just give the lure fishing a try. You know, at the end of the day, we're using ultralight gear. Some of the rods are up to 10 grams, some of them are up to 20 grams. They're very light, very thin braid. You get an unbelievable fight off a lure fishing rod when you're spinning for trout. It's as good as fly fishing. Just give it a go. A lot of people alienate either sides of fishing. Give them both a go. If you're into one sort of fishing, that's grand, but don't ever tell somebody one thing is better than another. That's something that I hate. So these are just my opinions, lads. If you don't agree, don't watch the video. I don't really care. But if you are watching the video, thanks. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the trout season this year. How many trout did we catch? We caught an awful lot. I had probably close to 1,000 trout on Loch Derg this year. No real giants. The biggest on Derg this year was, I think it was 71 centimetres. But we caught an absolute bomb load of trout. Definitely up to 1,000 trout. Some days we're going out catching average 20 a day. All catch and release with my fishing, lads. You'll see when I fish, I always say to wet the hands when you're lure fishing. With the spinning, we get them into the net. We don't lift them out of the net. A lot of the time we keep them in the net, have the pliers, don't even touch the fish. You just pull the hook out of his mouth, tip the net out, let him out, release the fish. Rubber mesh nets, they're very easy on the trout. and you're only losing small hooks, so you're not going to be wrecking them. But yeah, we had a lot of trout, all catch and release with my fishing. Now, I have nothing against with lads keeping a trout for their dinner, so don't think for a second that I do. Just for my fishing, I like to promote catch and release. I always have. That was just the way I always liked fishing. I always liked to see them swim back. The legal size of trout that you can keep on Loch Derg is 14 inches. And the legal size in the rivers, I believe, is 10 or 12 inches. I think it's 10 inches. But if you're keeping a 10-inch trout, you'd want to give your head a wobble. But yeah, good numbers of trout in the lake. You just need to be able to catch them at the end of the day. And the more you're out, the luckier you get. That's the way I look at it as well, lads, if you're watching these videos. The more you're out, the luckier you'll get. The more time you put on the water, the more of an understanding you're going to have about the trout out on the lake. It's hard to put it into words, what's going on in my head, the way I look at fishing, but this video is just kind of chatting about my own thoughts on it. So yeah, that's my review on the season so far. Now we're going to go into next on my setups that I'm using. If you're enjoying the video so far, lads, give it a like and subscribe, and we're going to go into lures and rods next. Right, I'm recording this from my sitting room, kneeling down on the ground. My ankles are killing me here in this position, lads, so bear with me. So let's talk about some of the setups that I used this year. Now, without a doubt, my favourite setup for spinning for trout is this beauty right here. So the rod is called a Favourite Black Swan. The reel that I like to use is called a Shimano Vanford. Now, I'm using the 2500 size in the Vanford, and the rod is 6 to 24 grams. But this is by far the lightest setup that I've ever used. It just feels, you don't even feel it in your hand. It's 7 foot long. I use braid that is 0.10 millimeter. This is Daiwa J braid, but you can use any brand. The leader that I use for spinning for trout is 12 pound Berkeley Trialing, and I use little small snaps to attach my lures. Now, when it comes to spinning for trout, lads, the lighter the setup you have, the more fun you're going to have. It doesn't need to be casting up to 20 grams. You could use a lighter rod, you could use 10 grams. This is just really, really light for what it is. It's got loads of power in it. It's very responsive when you twitch the lure. And you wouldn't even feel it in your hand all day. It's so light, that's the way it looks in your hand. You're just twitching the lure or trolling. I use the trolling as well, no problem. It's just a bit of a shame to use a rod like that for trolling. It's just unbelievable when it comes to high quality. So that's my main rod when it comes to spinning for trout, the Favourite Black Swan. Now, a lot of the rods that I use for the guiding for the trout, lads, are the rods that I used in previous years. So they're called the Robinson Toshido. Now, value wise, the other rod there is probably around 350 euros for the rod alone, and the reel is probably 200 euros. This Robinson Toshido rod is around the 50 euro range, and the Daiwa Ninja reel I have on it is around 50 euros as well. So I use these rods for the guiding, and there's not a huge difference in the action of the two rods. There's just a small difference in the weight. But honest to God, I used these rods myself before I came across that rod, and they're so nice. Very responsive rods, light as a feather. You get a great fight off the trout. This rod is 6 to 20 grams, and the reel is 2500 size as well with 10 pound braid. So there's the two rods that I use mainly for spinning for trout out on the lake. Yeah, really enjoy using them rods. There's another rod here that I was using that I'm going to show you quickly. This is the Favourite Bluebird. So this one is actually up to 13 grams, or 3 to 12 grams, sorry. So it's a bit of a lighter rod, but it's a lovely action off the Bluebird. Not as expensive as the Black Swan, and it does the job really well. Really nice in the hand. It's got a foam handle. 2000 size reel on that would be perfect. So yeah, I like the Bluebird. Another rod that I used this year was the Arena Stream. So this is up to 16 grams, the Favourite Arena Stream. Now this is more of a softer action, a moderate action, but it's enough to work twitch baits and jerk baits. I use it on the river and out on the lake. It's got that cool cork handle on it now, so a little bit more of a traditional look, but it's a lovely looking rod. It's got a brown tint to it there with a cork handle, very traditional looking rod. Light as a feather in the hand, and it'll do the job. It's got rods from all sorts of price ranges, lads. You can use absolutely anything. It just comes down to personal preference at the end of the day. Yeah, that's going to be it for the lake rods. I'm going to go over some of the lures that I use here now. Oh, something I actually always have in the bucket as well, lads, is one of these. It's a little clicker. So if you're into sport fishing or lure fishing, you just click it after every fish. Handy to have it. Sometimes I just keep it around the neck or around the waist, or just keep it near your hand. If you just like keeping count of how many fish you have, it's just handy to have them. I picked that up off AliExpress for about €2 or €3, and it's absolutely fine. You just click away after every fish. Just if you're into keeping a tally of how you're getting on, even throughout the season, they're also handy to have. There's no brand or anything like that. It's just called a fish counter. Anyway, so after that we'll go on to lures. One lure box that I didn't use much this year, which is very interesting, is my, I'll show you here now, is my Rapala box. So in previous years I used to always go to the Rapalas for the lake. If you watched me for the last 5 years on YouTube, you'd know that I was obsessed with Rapalas. And to catch fish, no problem at all. So I've this box here. It's a double-sided box. We've got a lot of the basic Rapala countdowns and countdown elites and X-Traps. You've kind of got your more of a traditional size of a wobbler, 7 centimeters. A lot of the lures that I use are around 7 centimeters and 9 centimeters. The X-Trap is in here as well. We have our jointed Rapalas in here as well. They're a bit tangled up there, but they're in there. It's just handy to keep them all into one box. We have our Sheck wobblers, little Sheck wobblers, 5 centimeters. I didn't use this box much this year. To the point where I was thinking about just selling on the lures because they're just sitting there, but I'm going to keep them on the off chance that I do a bit of trolling again in the next few years. And it's nice to have a good collection of Rapalas, but I didn't actually use them as much as in previous years. This year we have a lot of different lures here. We've got Rainbow Trout X-Trap, beautiful lure for trout. We'll catch them all day long. I've got my little snaps in here. I use Spro Freestyle stainless steel snaps for attaching my lures. One thing that I will say is the quality on the lips of the Rapala Countdown Elites. So there's a 5 centimeter lure Mediterranean trout. The lip, you know, the little plastic lip on them, I broke a few of them at the start of the season. Basically just casting them into the water, they were quite weak on the nose. You see the lip is broke off that one. That's one thing that I will say that I wasn't happy about the Rapala Countdown Elites. Super lures, but the lips in them should not be breaking that easy for a 20-euro lure. That's a bit of a head wrecker. Another good lure here is the Weston Jerk Bite. Right, turn back on the screen there. Weston Jerk. I have that one there in 9 centimeters. Suspending lure, it's grand as well in spring. You can really bang the rod hard to get that working. We've got the old Savage Gear 3D Twitch minnows. I have them in a few different colours. Probably the best colour out of the lot is this one. I have a few there in this colour. Now they're quite good. There's a good rattle inside them if you can hear this. A good size as well. That one's 8.5 grams, 8 centimeters. They're good as well. Just really didn't use them as much as I would have in previous years, so that's worth noting. Now the box that I use a lot of this year is, I'm going to show you here now. This will be my main trolling and spinning box. Yeah, I kind of stuck with a lot of the Japanese lures this year. So the Ryuki Spearheads, the Ryuki Spearheads. So all sorts of sizes. The reason I use these is because they have a system inside them and they can cast very far. So that's the 7 centimeter size in the spearhead. If you can see that, lads, sorry, I know the background is a bit mixed up, but the spearheads are quite good. You can get a good distance off them when you're casting. Now I have lots of different colours in this box. All the colours work, if I'm being honest. Like you can go from your bright colours to your dark colours. There's a natural colour there. The pink belly, that's always good throughout the year, especially in the second half of the season. I find when there's Daphne around, the kind of a bit of pink or orange on the belly of the lure just kind of triggers them more than anything. But they all work. They all work. I have them here in the boxes from 5 centimeters up to 6, 7, 8, 9 centimeters. Some of the bigger lures that I use are the Megabass Vision 110s for the casting. I'll show you here now. Of course, when you're trying to do a video, everything wants to get tangled. 1 second, lads. So, turn on the lens. The Megabass Vision 110. There's a good lure there. These are suspending lures. They only go down around 1 meter. And when you jerk the rod, they kind of just jerk and sit still in the water. They go dun, 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 dun. And that triggers the bigger trout. You've got your Spro jerkbaits. I love brown trout colours and jerkbaits for trout. You've obviously got your zip bait orbits. They're quite good. Roach pattern, a bit of orange on the belly. Serious lures for twitch trolling or spinning. You've also got your Eden minnows. So there we go, a little Eden minnow. They're quite good as well. They cast pretty well. Just going to throw these back into the box here so that we can keep moving on. So you've got all sorts of lures. I kind of stick to the natural colours. When it comes to your second outlets, your spearheads, that lure is absolutely tattered. I don't know if it's coming out in the camera. There's not much paint left on it. Spearheads and sevens, the rainbow trout colour in the spearhead, very good lure for casting far. But all of them work. This is just a plain chrome colour, if you can see that. It's as good as any. This one here is blue with a bit of pink on the belly. I don't think the colour makes a huge difference. On some days it can, but the best colour would be obviously your natural brown trout colours. Something with a bit of pink or orange on the belly, it can trigger them quite well. And I'm not going to take out every lure I have in the box here, lads, but there's the brown trout colour in the spearhead. 7, 8 centimetres, even 6 centimetre can be very, very effective. And another colour here that I'll show you while everything is tangled up is kind of a more of a fluorescent yellow colour. That can work very well. I just mix it up as I'm going along. If I'm not getting a hit on a certain colour, just change the colour. Sometimes the trout can zone in on a certain colour on a certain day, depending on the brightness of the sun and stuff like that. But just having enough there in the box to go through helps out. That's that side of the box that I kind of bring with me. Just close it up here, check the other side what's on it. So I'm recording this in the start of December. Season's ended at the end of September, so this box hasn't been opened in a while. So I have in this side, they're all stuck together, my 5 centimetre countdown elites, all different colours. Mediterranean trout is my favourite in that colour, in that lure. We have more Megabass Vision 110s. We have Yasix twitch baits there. One here in the bottom of the box. Doesn't want to come out, but it's here. They're good for twitch trolling, if you can see that. I have a little bit of everything here. I have enough to cover all sorts of situations. Obviously we've got the countdown elites in 7 centimetres, 7.5 or whatever. They're good. We've got the X-Wraps in brown trout in 7 centimetres. Loads more countdown elites, more of a natural roachy colour, brown trout colours, more of the Savage Gear twitch minnows. And obviously we've got the salmon minnow as well. Salmon minnow can be quite good out in Loch Derg. So there's the lures that I use out in the lake, lads. Hope you enjoyed that little insight into what I bring in the box. Loads of lures, only use one at a time unless you're trolling. But yeah, that's a look into what goes on inside my lure box for trout. This is getting into a long video, so sorry about that. Right, let's go over quickly. You watch my videos that do quite well is the spinning for trout out on the river. Huge interest in those videos. You wouldn't believe the sudden explosion in young lads fishing and young girls fishing out in Ireland. Suddenly fishing is cool and popular. I think doing these ultralight spinning videos for trout around the rivers kind of triggered a lot of that. I got a lot of them out of the house, realised that they can go down to the river with a fishing rod and catch a few trout. I'm going to go you through some of the setups that I use on the river. Very simple, lads. Basic sort of fishing, really, really fun. All catch and release. Smaller trout on the rivers, just make sure to handle them as well as you can. But it's wild fishing, wild stream fishing. It's very relatable to everybody. This is how a lot of people get into fishing, and I cover a lot of this in my channel. And it's just very fun to go off and do it. So this is the rod that I used since the start. I started this channel. I have a few other rods in the press that I'm not going to show, but this was the Savage Gear SG4 I think it's 0.5 to 5 gram rod, 6'6" in length. Now I didn't even use this year. That's how much the rods have developed that I've been using. That caught a lot of fish for me over the last few years, but it's just kind of sitting there. I use it the odd day for perch and stuff like that. But I've moved on from this rod a bit, so I'm going to show you the rods that I've moved on to. Now, I would have used this rod a lot in a lot of my videos. This is the Favorite Arena Stream, or Favorite Arena, I think this one is. So the blue version here is a lovely rod. It's 0.5 to 3 grams casting weight. So if you're worried about doing damage to trout out on a river or a stream, a rod like this, lads, it's as light as a feather. You won't do a huge amount of damage with a rod like this. You're using little small reels, loose drags. You'll do the same amount of damage with a little rod like this than you will with a fly rod. This is just my opinions, lads, but these rods are so forgiving. You're using light drags, small lines. When I fish on the river, I crush off the barbs off the lures. A lot of my lures I use a single hook, but I do crush off the barbs on the treble hooks. And I use a rubber mesh net. Wet the hands, lads, very important when you're spinning on the rivers. I say it in every one of my videos. That's why I don't do a lot of fishing from the banks. I'm often in the river with the waders, because I can wet the hands and slip the fish back as quickly. If you're fishing from a riverbank per se and you're spinning, you're going to be lifting the trout out of the water. Or if you're worm fishing, you're going to be grabbing the trout with dry hands and you're kind of wiping off his protective slime. They kind of need it to fight off the bacteria and infections. If you can get into the water, get near the water, or even bring a water bottle with you, if you wet your hands before you grab the fish, it'll make a huge difference to his survival rate. But yeah, favourite arena, the blue version, I love it. The difference between the blue version here and the red version, I have both of them. Did you see them here? They're both really light rods. The first eye on the red version compared to the blue version is bigger. So the red version kind of suits fishing with like a mono line. With the blue version, it's a bit more of a smaller eye on the first eye. I use braided line on that rod. So mono versus braid. When you're spinning for trout, you can use either. Both will work. I like using both. But yeah, I love them little arena rods. They're so much fun to use. Going on from that, what are we going to? We have the X1, the favourite X1. This is 0.5 to 5 gram rods or lures. It's pretty similar to the SG4 that I used in previous years. If you look at them side by side, they look pretty much identical. There's not a huge amount of difference in them. They'll both do the same job. They're probably both around the same price range as well. I use a little Daiwa Ninja 1000 on that with 0.07 braid and 5 pound fluorocarbon leader for spinning for the trout and the rivers. So that's a little X1 rod. It's a nice rod to use. Going on from that, what do we have here? Oh yeah. So a rod that I'm actually scared to use in the rivers is because it's so nice and it's so expensive. This is the Black Swan version of the Ultralight rod. This is, I think, what gram is this one up to? I think it's, I can't read it here now. I think it's something like 0.8 to 6 grams. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So this is a really nice rod, lads. Obviously, it's more expensive than the other rods. This rod is going to be in around the 350 euro range. When you're spinning for trout in the river, you'd want to be loving it to get a rod like this. But if you do get a rod like this, you will love it. It's so much fun. It's really responsive. The trout don't know what rod you're using, but if you're somebody who goes fishing once a day, every week, this is the rod to go for. But if you're somebody who goes fishing once a month, if you're lucky, don't spend 400 euros on a rod. You know, it doesn't make sense. So if you're somebody who loves fishing, does a lot of fishing, invest a little bit of money into your tackle and you'll get a bit more enjoyment out of it. But you don't need an expensive rod to catch fish. It just makes fishing a bit more enjoyable when you have high quality tackle, that really, really responsive tackle. But for the lads that like the cheaper tackle, I cover all that on my channel. These are kind of funny to watch. So here we have, one second. I got these rods off Temu rods, Temu and AliExpress. I think they're called the Scar, and this one is called the Skimiali. Now, this rod was 12 euro, this rod was 11 euro, and they both caught trout no problem. Now, they haven't broken yet. I've caught big perch on both of them as well. If you've got kids in the house and you want to see if they like fishing or not, probably the rod to go for. Also, you can use the Mikado Big Slate rods. They're around the 30 to 35 euro range. They'd be a lot better quality than these two. It just shows that there's a budget friendly side of trout fishing as well. So you can get these little cheap rods off Temu or AliExpress, or you can step it up a little bit and go for the Mikado Big Slate rods. Very friendly, budget friendly rods that will suit younger people or even adults looking to get into fishing to see if they like it before they invest in the higher end tackle. And the Mikado stuff can be quite good. And the Big Slate rod, I did a video on it there 2 years ago, and I still use that Big Slate rod for my perch fishing and the trout fishing out in the lake. So check out the Mikado range as well, lads. They're after basically exploding onto the market. Really affordable tackle. Yeah, they cover a lot of stuff. So check them out as well. One more rod that I'll show you here this is my current perch fishing rod. I just said I'd show it. We're not doing a perch fishing video here now, but this is the favourite totem. I love this rod for perch, lads. It's around 7 foot long, and I believe it's like 1 to 10 grams, around that. I use the Shimano Vanford size 1000 on it, and 0.08 braid. So for perch fishing, it's a fast action rod. It's really responsive. It's a very high quality carbon. It's called a favourite totem. Now, it's just a fun rod to use. I love it. It's really light. I said I'd throw it into this video because it was just there in the corner. And if you like your BFS fishing, bait finesse system, it's like ultralight bait casting for trout or perch. The reel that I use here is the Shimano Aldebaran BFS reel, and I use the Queen Totem 0.3 to 3 gram setup. Now, this is a very fun way of fishing. You're using a shallow spool, very thin braid, you're casting very small lures. So this is basically designed to cast really, really light lures. And it's basically just bait caster for very small species using small lures. And the reel is built to cope with it. So yeah, I use 0.06 braid on that, and very thin fluorocarbon leader, and it does the job. So yeah, that's basically the rods, lads. We're going to finish up this video here showing some of the lures that we use in the river. Spinner for trout. The only spinner that I use is the Mepps Comet. You can use obviously other brands of that, but I find the Mepps Comet to be pretty universal. There's one of them there. I have that one with a single hook. I put a single hook on a lot of my Mepps spinners now. Very easy to do it. You just chop off the hook and attach on your single hook, and you can buy them with single hooks now as well. If you're using treble hooks, just try to crush off the barbs. If you're doing catch and release fishing, bring a little packet of swivels, a little packet of snaps in this little box. Very easy to do. I have little small micro jig heads for fishing with soft plastics on the river for trout. Very small little jig heads. You can put your Berkeley waxworms and power worms onto it. We have a box full of spinners basically here. I bring a couple small salmon minnows in the 5 centimeter size, and also the 3 centimeter Rapala countdowns. Smaller sizes in the spearheads, and fish power tails. Fish power tails in the smallest size. They're very small. I think they're 3 centimeter size. What else do we have? More Ryuki spearheads for the river. Nothing else in that box. Just loads of Mepps spinners. Trying to fly through this video, that's because it's getting long. And I also bring a little box of wobblers for the river. I use the smallest size in the Ryuki spearheads. They're very, very small. A few more shek wobblers. After making a mess here. Also the smallest size in the Rapala countdown in the perch colour. I like that colour. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Smaller one there in the eel minnow. And I painted a few other, got these blanks off China, and I painted the blanks and caught a few trout on them. So yeah, that's the crack, lads. I'm pretty sure we were after running through a long enough video here. Was there anything else that I wanted to talk about? Oh yeah, the nets. I'll do this here quickly. When I'm fishing for trout on the lake, I bring a slightly larger net, rubber mesh. Has to be able to fit a trout into, on the off chance you do hook one of them 80 or 90 centimeter trout. A good large trout net, long handle, deep enough to be able to scoop in a trout. Other than that, when I'm spinning on the rivers, I use this little scoop net, rubber mesh, silicone. Doesn't do any harm to the trout, just keep it around your waist. And also we have this fold out scoop net, rubber mesh net as well. Don't do any harm to the trout. This one's actually telescopical, so it can fold out, and it does the job. That's pretty much it, lads. Don't know if there's anything else to go around. Did I answer all the questions that I wrote out? I think I did. Is trolling or spinning more effective? They're both very effective. Trolling can be quite good if you don't know the water. And as soon as you start getting hits trolling, just set up the boat on a drift and spin through it. You'll catch them. And if you like fly fishing, lads, obviously this video is more so towards lure fishing, but there's enough lads doing fly fishing videos, so you can go check out theirs. I like fly fishing as well, don't get me wrong. It's just, you know, this video is kind of more tailored towards lure fishing. And I hope you enjoyed this little video, lads. I'm just going through these contents here. I think I've covered everything. Yeah, it's pretty much everything. So leave the video a thumbs up, lads, if you learned anything, or if you agree or disagree on anything, drop it in the comments. These are just my own opinions. I hope you enjoyed it, lads. had a bit of time today to do this video. So subscribe, like the video, press the hype button. It's a new feature on YouTube. Kind of pushes the video out there. And yeah, thanks for watching, lads. We'll catch you out here next time.